Great. Thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate it. So hopefully everybody, like Chris said, has recovered from last night's festivities. Heard a lot of people got in around 6 a.m. And I know we're now after lunch, so I'm going to try and keep this really engaging, keep you guys attentive, and show you some really cool things that are happening. So like Chris said, I am the VP of EMEA for DG. And DG is a global advertising technology company. We're one of the few independent global advertising technology companies. And we work across both online and offline. And so we do a lot of speaking engagements really around the globe, and we have a lot of speakers, but this conference in particular, there was a reason that I wanted to be here, and it's because I actually started my career in performance marketing. So I started at a small performance marketing agency in Chicago, and here's a very blurry picture from last night, but believe it or not, my first mentor and the president of that agency was actually in Amsterdam last night. So we got to have a few beers, we got to catch up, and I said to her, I'm speaking to this audience tomorrow, it's very performance marketing based, what do your teams think about convergence? What do your teams feel like when they're talking to clients about convergence and when clients are asking about convergence? And this was the best graphic that I could find to represent what she said to me. So what she said is that it's really hard to think about this converged world. It's hard enough to be an expert in the one or two channels that you work in today. So how, as marketers, how as agencies, how as technology partners, can we really provide the right answer on what is convergence and what we should be doing not only today, but over the next 12 to 18 months. So to the question, what is convergence? I found this definition that I thought was a pretty good one to kind of bring this together and crystallize it for you. So convergence is to come together from different directions so as to eventually meet. And what we see those directions as, what we define those directions as, is offline, it's television, it's online, and not just traditional desktop, but social, mobile. So this is what we see, and really a great convergence point that you can start to take advantage of today is video. So I'm going to spend the next 40 minutes or so showing you a lot of information about consumer behaviors, about technology, about some advertising opportunities that exist today that some of our clients are taking advantage of. And hopefully you walk away with one or two action points that you can implement in what you do on a daily basis. So the year of mobile. How many people in here have heard it been called the year of mobile since, I don't know, I'm saying 2007, right? Yeah, 2007, 2008, 2013. We heard it again yesterday. It's the year of mobile. It's always the year of mobile. So I'm going to be a little controversial and actually say that the year of mobile was in 1983. So let me introduce you to this guy. This is Martin Cooper, and he is the godfather of mobile. So Martin Cooper was an engineer and an executive at Motorola in 1973. And in 1973, he actually invented the prototype for the first portable mobile handset. Now, it would be a further 10 years before that handset was available on the market. And when it was available, it had the very futuristic name of the Dynatec 8000NX. And this Dynatec 8000NX weighed 2.5 pounds. Can you imagine lifting a 2.5-pound mobile device to your ear every day? No need to go to the gym with that, right? And it's equivalent to 8 sticks of butter. So this device had 30 minutes of call time, and in today's dollars, that would represent a $9,000 phone call. So needless to say, I know my boss wouldn't approve that expense report. So let's fast forward to where we are today. So in the world today, we have 7.1 billion people. 7.1 billion people. It's pretty big. There are 5.1 billion mobile devices. Now, granted, they're not all smart yet, right? But there are 5.1 billion devices. But only 4.2 billion people have toothbrushes. So we're in a world right now where we're actually more connected than we are hygienic. Right? This is, when I first saw these stats, it really shocked me. It really puts a different spin on how connected we have truly become. And what do we do on these devices? Well, we spend 2.7 hours a day socializing. I'm sure half of you are probably on Facebook right now, right? 2.7 hours a day socializing. That's 2 times more than we spend eating. And these devices have really changed our relationships. So conversations have become texting. Arguments have become phone calls. And feelings have become status updates. So these devices and where we are today have changed our interpersonal relationships. And it's also changed our consumer behavior and how we purchase, right? So 84% of consumers will compare instantly on their phone when they're in the store now. So 84%. What's more shocking than that, though, is that 13% will actually switch stores, right? So this whole idea of having these devices and giving us information right away, we're changing our purchase behavior based on having access to this information. And we're also using this to get trusted recommendations from friends. So we're using these devices. I know if I'm going to make a big purchase, or I travel a lot. So whenever I'm going somewhere new, the first thing I'll do is update Twitter, update Facebook, and say, hey, can anybody recommend a hotel in, let's say, Saint-Tropez? And you know what? I'm more likely to take that advice than I am to take any advice from advertising, from people that I don't know. And 78% of consumers actually trust peer recommendations, while only 14% trust advertising. So as marketers, this puts us in a difficult spot, right? If only 14% of people trust advertising, how are we going to get through to them, right? And we have this new world where we're constantly with our mobile devices, and we have a lot of information, and we have a lot of options. And not only are we constantly with these devices, but in the UK, where I live, the Daily Mail did a study of 18 to 30-year-olds. 94% of them would rather live without sex than their mobile device. 94%. I mean, it's pretty crazy from my perspective. I'm no longer in that 18 to 30 demographic, so maybe that's why. But this has profoundly changed the world. So what we know is that these tiny screens have huge results. And today, most people are looking at mobile as its own channel and planning it separately, but we can't. Because hopefully I've just demonstrated to you how intertwined it is with our entire lives, right? And from a digital media perspective, we're still spending time on desktops. The desktop's definitely not dead. But if we take these statistics and we flip it around, what it says is that 1 in 3 online minutes are now spent beyond the PC. So 1 in 3 online minutes are no longer on the PC. And this mobile internet growth is happening, and it's happening now. So the red bar there, the red line, represents mobile. And what you can see is that in 2014, internet usage on mobile will actually eclipse the desktop, right? So this is truly a fundamental change. And it's not just mobile, it's all these devices, right? We have connected TV now today. We have gaming consoles. We're constantly streaming content on our gaming consoles. We have tablets. So the consumers have a lot of different options, and they're moving through all of these different devices. And if you take a step back and think about how your media consumption has changed over the last few years, I bet that there are multiple devices within here that you're using. So we're truly in a land of media fragmentation. And as marketers, it's really difficult. One of the biggest issues, and we've heard it here over the last couple days, is how do we track consumers across these multiple devices, right? Because a cookie on my PC doesn't sync with anything on my mobile phone, right? So we don't have a way today to truly track across these devices. But what we need to think about is that while this is media fragmentation for us, and it's a challenge for us, as a consumer, this isn't a world of media fragmentation. These are just options. I'm seamlessly moving through these multiple devices. So as marketers, we have to break down the silo. We can't afford to continue to plan separately. And not only between channels, but also, from a brand to a performance marketing perspective. We can't afford to not have cohesion between these different planning functions. And so let me show you an example of why I say that media isn't actually fragmented for consumers. So in this example, let's say I'm at home, I'm watching a movie, it gets late, I go to bed. The next morning I get up, I have Skype Go, which is a Sky app. I get on the train, I pick up that movie exactly where I left it the night before, and I'm now watching it on the train. So let's say my commute to work isn't that long, so I don't finish it. When I get home that night, I'm going to pick up again exactly where I left off on the train in that morning. And that content, the quality of that content, is going to be the same between both the TV and the mobile device. And so where we are is that consumers do not want to miss a moment of content. And they don't have to. They don't have to miss a moment of content. And so I said earlier, video we see as the intersection of convergence across all these different devices. And I'll share a lot of statistics as to why that is. But the average 65-year-old will have consumed 14 years of video content today. 14 years. That's a lot of opportunity as a marketer to reach and engage consumer. But what does this mean for the new generation? So you can see this little boy up here on the screen, and he's also, in his mind, watching TV. He's consuming video content. But this is totally different than how you and I grew up consuming content, right? His content is streaming on a game console. So this is the new generation. This is where it's going, and we're here today. This is what's happening. And so it begs the question, what is TV? If video is the intersection of all these, what is TV? Well, TV has changed, and it's changing rapidly. So we see TV as a geography, a place, a function. It's not just a box in the corner of the room anymore. It's not something that the family gathers around once a week during prime time to see the latest show. This TV, as we know it, has completely changed. And the TVs are evolving. Screens are getting bigger. I mean, this is amazing. So we were at CES earlier this year, and this is Tej Reiki, our Director of Innovation. He's standing in front of a 110-inch TV. This is the world's largest TV. It has 4K ultra-high definition. And while we thought that was impressive, right, I've talked a little bit about quality. While we thought that was impressive, we went to the next booth, and we saw an 8K television. That's 16 times the HD that we all have today. And what's really interesting about this is that, while in the past when new innovations like this came out, it would take 5 years for it to get to market. It would take 10 years for prices to go down, for consumers to actually be able to purchase them. That's not the case today. So last year, 21% of people bought a new TV. A quarter of these TVs were smart TVs. So what is a smart TV? Well, I'm sure a lot of you have seen them. One of the best ways to think about a smart TV is one, it's connected, right? And you have the ability to really bring, at this point, the internet onto TV. So there's all these different apps that are available. You're able to download and stream content whenever you want. And a great real-world example of this is Skype on a smart TV. So my boss, Andy Ellenthal, runs sales and operations for us globally. We have over 46 offices, so he is constantly on the road. For the last few years, he's been Skyping with his family. He has 4 kids at home. He's been Skyping with his family while he's on the road. Well, he recently bought a Samsung Smart TV, and what he now does is when he Skypes, he's on his iPad. He could be in a hotel room in Brazil and our office in China. His family actually gathers around the TV to Skype with them. So he might be up in the morning having a cup of coffee. His kids have just finished dinner. They gather around the TV to Skype. And he said it's really changed the quality of the interaction that he has with his family when he's on the road. So this is happening today. We have some of these TVs in our offices, and we actually do video conferencing through them. Frankly, it's amazing. And so I referenced before that online is coming to TV. And what do I mean by that? Well, Samsung recently released an SDK for HTML5 on connected TVs. So you can actually serve HTML5 advertising. And that's being done today. Advertising is being served on connected TVs. So this is truly a revolution. And this is, again, that whole thought of convergence. It's happening. So I just explained how Samsung is changing from a consumer perspective, right? They're bringing these smart TVs to market. We also work with them from an advertising perspective. So I wanted to share an example of dual screen that they've recently done. And so you can see here there's an ad at the top of the screen there, a banner ad for the Samsung Smart TV. And what they were trying to get across is they were trying to get across the fact that with the Smart TV, you can control the TV via your mobile device or your tablet. You can use that as a remote control. There's an app. So they came to us and said, we need to get this out to consumers, and these consumers are online. We need to show them that this is something that's possible. So we worked with them, and what we came up with was actually the ability to control the ad unit via your mobile device on your laptop over a Wi-Fi connection. And we took this one step further and worked with the publisher as well. So El País, the publisher that this is on, actually has an application within the Samsung Smart TV. So the content that you see here is what's in their application on the Samsung TV. So this is an example of dual screen, though not with a TV, between mobile and traditional desktop. And we saw some really great results with it. So the average dwell time, so the time the users spent interacting with the ad unit, was 1:30. That's against our Spanish benchmark of 1 minute. The average dwell rate, 8.6%. So 8.6% of people that saw this advertisement actually interacted with it. And there was also a QR code that was able to be downloaded. And what we saw was 39 plus QR codes downloaded per minute of interaction time. So, this is something that's pretty new and pretty revolutionary, but consumers got it. They got it immediately. They understood, okay, hey, I can interact with this. I can work with this. And they were really engaged with the advertisement. And it was a big success. We have a quote from Starcom, who was our partner on it. But really, what it says is they need to stay at the forefront of innovation because Samsung's staying at the forefront of innovation, and they need to do so with their advertising. So they were able to do that. So these connected TVs are changing the world. And what we know from one of our own studies we did is that 48% of people that have a connected TV stream content. So they're streaming content on these connected TVs. But what's interesting from our perspective is that 87% noticed ads while they were streaming. So 87% of the people actually noticed ads on the streaming, which is very different than the traditional old world view of TV. So with this shift in first screen, with the change, with connected TVs coming out, what's happening? Well, consumers do not consume first screen like they used to. So live TV, slowly on a decline. It's never going to fully decline. It's going to continue to be something that consumers want, live TV, especially when you think about sports, Super Bowl, things like that. DVR is significantly increasing. Because of these connected TVs, because of the capability to store so much content, the DVR is significantly increasing. That red bar right there in the middle, that is physical media and tapes. Pretty much going away. So I don't know if you guys all remember, it was maybe 10 years ago when it was, Blu-ray going to be the best? What's going to win? Is it going to be HD or Blu-ray? Well, at this point, it almost doesn't matter because people aren't buying DVDs anymore. And games console streaming is starting to overtake DVD. So this is truly the shift that we're seeing that consumers are doing when they consume on the first screen. And why is this? It's because of the cloud. So the cloud makes everything possible, right? So really, the thought of storing content on the cloud about 10 years ago was all about music. 5 years ago, it was maybe all about pictures, uploading pictures. Today, it's all about video. And we can see why. Just like that example that I showed you before, video is everywhere. This video content is super important to consumers. Content is king. This is what they want. And they now have the option to have it on any device at any time. And we know in the UK that 30 million people watch online video monthly. So that's near half the population watch online video monthly. So this is where consumers are shifting their media consumption. This is where they're spending their time. The BBC has actually reacted to this, and I think this is brilliant. So CarShare, one of their most popular shows, they actually streamed 40 hours of content online prior to bringing it to broadcast. So they recognize that this shift is happening with consumers, and they're taking advantage of it. So this is a quote. I mean, really what it boils down to is that the streaming content from the cloud, this is now taking precedence. This is what the new generation is going to want. And this is what's even happening today, right? So we know that over 3/4 of online consumers, see if it goes back. Nope. Well, I'll tell you what it said. So what it says is over 3/4 of online consumers now consume streaming video content. So we've talked about mobile and how it's changed, right? And how everybody's using video content and they're using it across multiple devices. But how quickly is it going to continue to change? How quickly are people going to adopt? Well, if you look at this, the IDC, which tracks shipments, says that in 2013, 900 million smartphones will ship and 172 million tablets will ship. So that's over 1 billion mobile devices in 2013 alone that have the ability to stream video content. So this is the new norm. And for the first time since 1994, when the IDC started tracking shipments, PC shipments are down 14%. So consumers are moving towards these tablets, and they're moving towards the smartphones. So let me give you an example. It's a great way to visualize this. So a new pope was named this year, right? The last time that happened was 2005. And this is what the crowd looked like at the Vatican in 2005. Here's what the crowd looked like in 2013. It's a pretty powerful slide, right? It gives you a great visualization of how things are really changing. And so what's even more fascinating than the amount of smart devices that you see here is that within 1 minute, within 60 seconds of the Pope being named, 700 videos were uploaded to YouTube. 700 videos. And I always laugh a little bit at the guy with the iPad because I don't know about you guys. The first time I saw someone take a picture with an iPad, I was like, stupid. And now I do it all the time. So we've got this crowd that looks totally different. We have 700 videos within a minute on YouTube. And then we have the Pope himself. He tweeted. So if even an institution like the Catholic Church is changing how they interact with people, we know that we as marketers need to be. So I said before that there are going to be 1 billion devices shipped, right? In 2013, 1 billion smart devices. Well, here's what we know. We know that 28% of smartphone owners now own a tablet, right? And I'm sure that's true for a lot of us in the room here. So what are we doing on these tablets? Well, you know what? 50% of us are consuming video content. Going back to this idea of video is really the key spot of convergence. So 50% of us are watching video content. And what I find pretty interesting is that, we're watching this video content, but we're actually using this as a truly portable TV. So 63% of tablet video watching is actually occurring at home, which is pretty interesting, right? And you can see here the split. So 39% in the living room, 40% in the bedroom, 12% in the kitchen. Hey, while you're cooking, maybe you're watching a show. The thing that disgusts me is 9% in the bathroom. So needless to say, I wouldn't want to touch that tablet. And what else we know is that 91% of internet traffic is going to be video in 2014. So that's more than doubled in 2 years. So the rate of change and the rate of consumption is changing unbelievably fast, right? And, we spend a lot of time from a marketing perspective, especially for this group in the room, thinking about metrics, thinking about attribution, thinking about, how we're going to measure, cross devices, cross cookies, all of that. Here's the thing, as an industry, we haven't figured it out yet, right? But what I will tell you is if you don't start to think about this change and this shift, by the time our industry metrics catch up, it's going to be too late because consumers will already have made the switch. So what we say is that we're now in the middle of a video revolution, right? So it's a video revolution. And why is that? It's because video drives emotion, right? Consumers connect with video. Video makes us laugh. Video makes us cry. And this connection has only become stronger now that we have these portable TVs, right? Now that we can get this video content anywhere we want. And so as advertisers, a great opportunity right now is to focus on instream. So, we're seeing more and more money shift to instream. And there's a quote up here, you probably can't read it, from David Hallerman, who is an e-marketer analyst. But he says, video advertising continues to attract new ad spending from brands because it generates greater audience attention than other digital formats. So it's greater audience attention. The audience is already in a connected state, and so they pay more attention to advertising when it's within video. I'll show you some US numbers here, but from an online perspective, rich media used to be the way that we delivered and connected engaging ads online. But what we see is that rich media growth is stagnating and that online video is set to explode. In a few short years, online video in the US alone will be a $7.7 billion industry. It's huge, right? And it's really because of the quality and the engagement. So the engagement within video, and I'll show you some examples of what can happen today. The engagement within video with consumers completely changes the way that they interact with brands and the way that they interact with advertising. And so here's an example. So this is Samsung. So Samsung, this is an offline commercial that they had that's running in the background. The online agency took the offline asset and they turned it into VPaid, or interactive video. And so what you can see here is they turned it into a more social ad. So when the user rolls over, they're able to tweet, they're able to post to Facebook. But you could flip this on its head. This could be, this could be merchants, right? So this could be where you could go to buy this Samsung Galaxy. So these types of ad units are working extremely well. And I'll share some statistics with you. So for VPaid, for interactive video, we see on average a 1.6% click-through rate. It's huge. It's big. I haven't seen numbers like that since probably 2000. From an interaction rate perspective, we see a 9.6 interaction rate. So nearly 1 in 10 are interacting with this vPaid format or interactive video. And when we look at the metrics overall and when we look at view-through, what we see is a 70% increase in site visits. So there's a lot of opportunity to drive site visits, to drive purchase intent, and even to drive purchase within these ad units. So from a global perspective, I shared some US stats with you earlier. From a global perspective, how does the ad economy look? Because hopefully by now you'll agree with us that TV and online are absolutely in a state of convergence, right? What you used to hear when online started was TV is dead, TV's going away. Well, guess what? TV isn't dead. TV's still king. It's not going away. But what we see is the addition of mobile. People are actually starting to spend there, right? And we truly believe online and mobile should be looked at as one. But what you can see is by 2017, it's actually not that far away. By 2017, mobile and online will be the same as TV. So there are, the difference between them is absolutely narrowing. And another thing that's pretty interesting, I shared an example, that Samsung example, where the online agency took the offline assets, right? But what we now see is that 58% of our agencies are actually planning video and TV together. Surprisingly, this is often done by the TV side. So the TV planners are actually planning online video. But you hear about VOD groups being formed, video on demand, right? So this is what we're seeing happen, is that TV and online, there's no differentiation anymore. It's just video, and they're planning video. And in 2013, 20% of marketers are going to join them as well. So our clients are now starting to meld these functions together and not look at them as separate silos. So why is that? Let me share some Nielsen statistics with you. So Nielsen did study, and they said that ads viewed during TV shows when watched online are 39% more effective than ads viewed on TV. 39% more effective. And there's 85% higher brand recall. So there's 85% higher brand recall when these ads are viewed on an online device. So you might say, Deanne, this is a performance marketing conference. We don't really care about brand recall, right? We care about performance. Well, let me share a study with you from Reckitt Benckiser, one of the largest FMCG companies in the world, right? So what they saw was when they did a multi-screen video campaign, truly multi-screen, planned together, their sales lift doubled. And these companies know how to measure sales, right? They get this. So their sales lift doubled by planning together. So this is something that we know works and that we have to be doing. So I'll share an example from H&M, one of our clients. So we delivered both the offline assets and then helped them create online assets with those offline assets. So they had interactive video campaign that ran alongside a TV commercial. And what they did was they ran the online for a certain period of time without running TV. And then they ran them both simultaneously. And because we had all the data in-house, we could take a look and see, what does that do from a results perspective? And so what we saw was when TV was running, there was better performance, right? And that performance happened 15 minutes after the TV commercial aired. So when we overlaid the data points, we saw that the TV commercial was actually having an impact on the online advertising. And then we saw, again, in the first 40 minutes, still a lift, although that max effect was 15 minutes after. And then 60 to 90 minutes out, we saw another peak. So we know that by bringing these data points together, in this case, the teams weren't planning together. There was a TV team, there was an online team, right? They were separate teams, but they worked together. They used the same assets, right? They used the same delivery system so they could measure the points, and they shared information. This is really key. It's not like tomorrow we're going to wake up and every agency is going to be combined into one and everybody's going to be planning across everything. But even sharing those data points are really important. And so we saw that this was, a huge success. And overall, we saw 47% higher performance based on doing this. And this is something that just ran about 2 months ago, so it's pretty recent. So it's really about the right ad at the right time. This is not news to anybody. Everybody knows this, right? But there are other opportunities. I know there was a session earlier today on RTB. One of the things that we're doing with some of our clients that we're testing is something we're calling sync trade. And so what that is that when we deliver, an offline spot is delivered, we listen, we know it was delivered. At that point in time, we then go on to the programmatic exchanges, and we either buy appropriate content based on where that ad was, where the ad was displayed, or we buy the appropriate demographic based on who the ad was tied to. So we're tying together, based on what's happening on TV, an online buy. And I just saw in the news today, actually, that Vodafone announced that they're doing something similar with a couple companies in Germany. So, this is the future. This is where it's going. And this is where, where we're really going to start to see some changes in the next 12 to 18 months. So it's really time for us to fuse our thinking. From a performance perspective, getting information from the brand agencies, right? Knowing that a client is airing a TV ad, knowing what's going to be featured in the TV ad, so that then you can change the offers that you're doing at the bottom of the funnel. Things like this are things we can do today to make a difference and take advantage of how consumers are interacting with media. Because TV and online have collided. It's happened. So if you think about it from an attribution perspective, I mentioned before the analytics are admittedly behind on this. What a consumer might do today is they might see a product on TV. They're going to search for it online. They're going to read reviews. They're going to ask their friends, right? They're going to visit the shop. But then they're likely going to buy it on their mobile device, or they're going to buy it somewhere else. We need to think about how this change in technology has affected the consumer's purchase path and what we can do to adapt to it. So on air has now become online. This is where we are. And, we're talking specifically about dual screen. What we know is that 84% of people that are watching TV on a daily basis are using some other device at the same time. So, they're using a tablet, they're using a mobile. What are they doing? A lot of them are checking email, 60%, right? So think about this. If you're deploying an email campaign, if you knew a point in time where your marketer was airing a commercial and you could sync up deploying an email campaign around that, could be really powerful, right? What's really interesting to me is down here at the bottom, 19% are actually looking up content related to an ad. So 19% of people are actually going, okay, hey, let me see what's happening related to an ad. And 13% are looking for a coupon or a deal related to an ad. So again, if one of your marketers is running a campaign and you know the products they're featuring, maybe you're offering offers based on those specific products, on what's happening, what's being aired in the geography or in that placement. So this is an opportunity for us. One other stat that I want to share that Yahoo and Razorfish did is they did a study, and they said that 25% of consumers go online after seeing a TV ad. So, there's definitely a connection and a correlation between the TV advertising and then going online, where ultimately, whether it be mobile, tablet, purchases are likely happening. So, a real-world example of this, I'll use the Super Bowl because it's, one of the biggest live televised sporting events, and I love this number. It was $3.8 million for a 30-second spot. $3.8 million. Can you imagine what you could do with that budget? Marketers spent that on one 30-second spot. So we delivered 80% of the TV ads there, and 100% of them were in HD. That's the first time 100% were in HD. Again, quality cannot be overlooked. That quality is part of the engagement. So in this example, you can see here's the consumer. They're at home. They're watching the Super Bowl. What are they doing on that device? Social, right? Around live events, social is huge. So there were 48 million social interactions around the Super Bowl. 21 million were tweets, and 30% of them were about the ads, right? So again, this just backs up that this is what consumers are doing. This is the new reality of how we act and of what we do in front of TVs, how we use social, and what we're doing on these multiple devices. So where does that leave us? There's a lot of acronyms in this industry, right? ROI, CPM, CPC, a new one every day. So I want to introduce one that might be new for some of you, ACR, automatic content recognition. And so what is ACR? What does it mean? Well, ACR actually enables true two-way communication between devices. I showed you an example of Samsung, which we consider a dual-screen campaign, where they use the mobile phone to interact with the PC. But now we're talking about content and advertising syncing between these two screens. And this is something that we're doing a little bit of today, but is really something that's going to take off in the next 12 to 18 months. And the way this communication happens, you guys have probably heard some of these. It can be audio, it can be visual. Think of Shazam is a great way to think of it, right? NFC, Wi-Fi, we don't know what's going to be next. There's a lot of different ways that this can be executed, but this two-way communication is real, and it's where we're going. So there are a whole slew of second screen applications that have been introduced. This is an example, ZBox. And there were 280 million downloads of TV apps in the US in 2012. And so what these apps do is they actually sync with the content. So broadcasters are creating their own. You have apps like ZBox, but it's actually creating an engaged experience between what's happening on the television and what's happening in the application. They're used a lot for social, right? So now people are interacting in real time with other consumers that are in this application and that are watching the same content. So it's pretty powerful, and we're not sure where it's going to end up. We're not sure who's going to win on this. Will it be an aggregator like a ZBox that has multiple broadcasters? Will there be broadcast-specific apps? But we do know that this is kind of the next stage of dual screening. And so from our perspective, one of the things that's super exciting about it is that it takes us away from assumed audience measurement, which is where we are today, to accurate audience measurement. So if a consumer is interacting within ZBox, we know that they're watching that content. Right? So this gives us the opportunity to actually put accurate audience measurement around these types of interactions and these types of campaigns, which translates into better ROI, to use an acronym. So let me show you an example of what this can look like. So in this example, we have a BMW ad on the screen, right? And through some sort of ACR, it could be client-side, it could be server-side. There's a BMW ad now on the mobile phone. Right? And on that phone, they can look for a dealer, they can look at photos, they can build their own. So there's a lot of interactivity. So when I showed you before that 25% of consumers go online to look at information related to ads, well, now they don't need to. In this environment, they're getting that information, if they choose it, at their fingertips. And we've worked on a couple different dual screen executions, and there's some mock-ups and things that we're working on for the future. Let me show you an example. So in this example, there's a television show, right? We have news program, and we have El Cortez English, who's one of our Spanish clients on the dual screen there. And you can see that there's a Samsung ad. Based on a server-side integration, we know that Samsung ad is playing, so we deliver a Samsung ad to the tablet itself. But we can even take that one step further and have the client actually integrate offers into their site based on this. So one of the things that we're looking at is the consumer in this case is on the El Cortez English site. They get a commercial for a washing machine. We now offer them a discount based on the fact that we know that that's the content that they're viewing right now. So this is future state. We haven't done this yet. These are things that we're exploring and that we're working on. So hopefully up until now, you guys have a good idea of where we're at, right? So the second screen, this dual screen, mobile devices, the state of convergence is absolutely happening now. There's some things that we're working on, but they're going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months. This isn't far away. This isn't in 10 years. This is what it's going to look like. This is really, really where we are. One of the key things that's missing is the data, right? And the ability to measure fully across these. And this is something that we're very focused on at DG and that the industry is focused on because data really is the key, right? So this is where we used to be, and this is where we see ourselves today. This point of convergence, as I said, really around video, around breaking down the silos between traditional online, PC, mobile, tablet, and analytics. So that's it. We have a website, convergence.dgit.com. A lot of the stats that I shared with you today are there if you want to go and take a look. And I think I'll just open it up for questions.
Do you have any questions at all?
Hi, just a question around the fact that we've a lot of first players now, people moving into this for the first time, and their advertisements are the first out there doing this type of thing. So in a sense, there's a novelty to it, and people are interacting with it because it's something they haven't seen before.
Yeah.
As more companies come and start advertising in this space, do you see do you think we'll end up in the similar positions that we do from, looking at banner ads with convergence, the way that's declined over all the years? Is it something that we're going to end up with just too many of these ads and less interaction going on very quickly? Or do you see that this has a longer term interaction that we don't see with the other stuff?
So I think it has a longer term interaction that we haven't seen yet. The reason being, especially when it's around video, because of how engaging that content is. And if we're really, kind of respecting the content and thinking about how we're putting this out there and making it relevant to the environment, we should have a longer term. But I mean, you're absolutely right. At some point, the interaction rates will decline, the click-through rate will decline. But what will happen at that point is there'll be something else that will come in and will be new. Second screen, these apps could take off, right? An example that I didn't show that we use sometimes is that we actually have the ability to fingerprint content within a TV show. So if you think about product placement, brands spend a lot of money on product placement. So if we're delivering the TV show, which we do in some places, we actually could fingerprint and know that, for instance, a Samsung phone was on the table, right? And then we could send a notice to the device, hey, serve Samsung ad. So there's a lot of opportunity beyond what I've even shown today. But I do really think, again, that the analytics piece and solving that is really going to be key. We'll see performance drop some, but we'll see new things come into play.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Great stuff. Now the question is that there are multiple devices which an individual is consuming during the day. So starting from TV, then the person goes on to a tablet, then onto a mobile.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing my media planning, I need to say I need to reach this particular person through a particular reach and frequency, right? So this person should see my ad 5 times.
Yeah.
So how do you track a person across devices in absence of cookies on mobile? Yeah. So I know I am reaching this person optimum number of times and not too many times.
Yep.
Right. So how do that tracking across the devices for an individual?
If I knew the answer to that question 100% today, I'd be making a lot of money.
Well, what is the best take on it?
Yeah, but I will give you some examples. So you're right. I mean, first of all, just cookies in general, right? There's a chance they could go away. And, in the Netherlands here earlier this year in January, we disabled third-party cookies when the privacy directive was first, initiated. So that's now changed because of the change in that. But, we can't rely on cookies. So there are a lot of technology companies that are springing up with other opportunities. A lot of them look like fingerprinting, if you know what that term is, right? We're testing out a lot, both with partners and ourselves internally. The best way to do it today, the example I showed was Sky, right? So Sky, they know who I am at home, right? And they know who I am on my Sky Go app. So in a publisher environment like that, you should be able to track across multiple devices. If a user is registered or logged into something, you'll be able to track across multiple devices, but there's not a one surefire way to do it today.
Yeah, so a publisher would know that, okay, this is a person coming to me from various devices.
Yeah.
But as an advertiser, suppose I'm Coca-Cola, I need to say, okay, across all devices, I need to be serving an ad 4 times to this person. That becomes a challenge.
Yeah, it becomes a challenge, Yeah, absolutely. It definitely becomes a challenge. But, if you think about it this way, with the way that most agencies are set up today, so siloed, right? Even online and mobile separate, TV and video separate, you're already not achieving that. So even just starting to plan, right? To plan together can alleviate some of that. Yeah. But it doesn't, it's an industry challenge.
Okay,
yeah.
Fine. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else?
Anyone else?
Hi.
Hi.
Where do you think this will stop before it just becomes completely unpalatable to a person to be followed around by brands? The scene in the Minority Report with Tom Cruise springs to mind, and how close we are to that with him being followed through a mall.
Yeah, I mean,
to use an American term.
No, it's a great question. I mean, it's interesting, especially here in Europe. It's much different because the privacy directives are much stronger, and they're going to continue to be much stronger. So we are at a point where at some point we might not be able to follow people at all. I highly doubt that. I think from a technology perspective, we'll figure out a way around it. But I think a lot of that goes back on marketers, right? It's our responsibility not to make people feel like they're followed around. I mean, I love when I talk to my friends that aren't in advertising and they reference retargeting. They don't know it's retargeting, right? But they're like, God, I looked at a pair of shoes on the site, and then, 7 weeks later, I already bought this pair of shoes, and I didn't even buy that pair, but I'm never buying from that brand again, right? So a lot of that responsibility follows back on marketers. We as an industry need to make sure that we're regulating what we're doing and how we're approaching consumers. So frankly, we don't piss them off, right? Or we don't freak them out that, how did you know I was looking at this? And now, and now I'm looking at that. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Anyone else?
If you, as a publisher, want to show one of these multiple device ads, can we expect big advertising networks like Google AdSense, for example, to offer this possibility?
Yeah, absolutely. So, from our perspective, we spend a lot of time working on the publisher side as well. And this is certainly, these are certainly things that publishers are looking to push. And it's all going to be about, the technology and the ability to be able to know what's being served in the different environments and to connect the two. So the technology exists. It's how do you package it together, and how are publishers, going to bring it to life. A lot of publishers are very interested in it, obviously, because it means higher CPMs, right? Can make more money.
Okay,
right? Much more engaging. Yeah, much more engaging format. Anybody else?
Okay, looks like we're done.
Oh, there's one.
You put up a stat which I think stated that 91% of internet usage would be video by next year. What metric were you using for that? Is that data transfer, or is that?
Yeah, it's based on data transfer, right? So it doesn't mean 91% of time spent, but 91% of the data will be video.
Because we're a merchant, we're a pretty small merchant, and I doubt we're going to be able to produce videos of the type you're talking about anytime soon, and a lot of their work is still going to be content-based. Yeah.
So it's definitely, it's one of those things where I'd urge you as much as you could, start to get access to video content or ways to use video content and, and put that forward. You absolutely should. But it's not the only thing people are doing, right, on their digital devices. But we do see that, like I said earlier, as the convergence point. It's a convergence point that we can work with today as marketers that has strong performance. Anyone else? No? Okay, great. Well, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.